So, अभी लास्ट फ्यू डेज मैं इंडिया में नहीं था, सो वहाँ पे AQI 5 से ऊपर था ही नहीं। और जैसे ही मैं लैंड करा तो
सर हम तो अब रह ही नहीं पाएंगे ऐसी जगह जहाँ का AQI 100 से कम होगा।
सो हमारी कर्म भूमि यही है, सो वी आर बाउंड टू स्टे हियर। तो एनीवे,
ठीक है, मैं देख रहा हूँ।
बट दिस काइंड ऑफ वेदर इज अनदर ऑब्स्टिकल टू रिकवरी। आप इतने हाई पोल्यूशन में रहोगे तो जिन लोग को भी रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रबल्स है, एलर्जीज हैं, स्किन प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, हेडेक्स हैं, it's very difficult to give them a long lasting relief because ये एक बहुत बड़ा obstacle to recovery है।
सर प्रेग्नेंट वुमेन्स को बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो रही है। मेरी फैमिली में कज़न सिस्टर है, उसको मैं एक दिन रात को हॉस्पिटल ले जाना पड़ा पोस्ट दिवाली। इतना ज़्यादा सफोकेशन हो गया, और
especially if you're prone to allergies,
Yes.
तो आपके लिए एक बड़ा
वो है,
difficult
शी
time
हैज़
है ये।
एलर्जिक टेंडेंसी।
So आजकल ना जनरली आप देखो people have a constant irritation in throat, गला बार बार साफ करना पड़ रहा है। But then what happens is कि that then becomes a common symptom because it's triggered by the pollutants in the air. So our prescription will never be on that, somebody deciding to clear the throat often or having a post-nasal drip or a discharge. But what's going to help you is the modality or the kind of discharge or the concomitant symptom that you get. So now what we've generally seen in the last few days is कि गले में इरिटेशन बहुत ज़्यादा लोगों को डेवलप हो रहा है, and if they are having that irritation in throat and their thirst is low, then you should try giving streptococcin. Okay, give a few doses, it brings about a remarkable change. And if that irritation is better by having something warm, okay, and there's a constant dryness in throat, then you think of spongia. But if there's somebody who's sipping warm water frequently, then you give arsenicum.
सर स्पॉन्जिया का क्या सिम्टम है?
Dryness, better by warm. But if they're having warm water frequently, then you think of arsenicum. And then, generally what you'll find is there are some patients who don't respond to arsenic with weakness, exhaustion, but they're not responding to arsenic. Those symptoms are like arsenic. Then you give cadmium sulf. Same symptoms like arsenic, but arsenic doesn't work. But then make sure that your prescription is accurate. So palladium as a remedy, again, it's one of the noble metals in our materia medica. So remedy, it was first proved by Constantine Herring. Okay. Now when he proved it, and there was another remedy which is also a noble metal, which was proved by Hahnemann in his time, and that was platinum. So when they went through the symptoms of platinum and palladium, they found they could not really distinguish much between both of them. But then, with time, they were able to comprehend the dissimilarities between the two remedies. So there are certain similarities, but there are also quite a few marked dissimilarities between platinum and palladium. Like, for instance, in platinum, we see that the objects appear smaller. Okay. In palladium, you find an absolutely opposite sensation. They feel as if they're growing bigger and larger. सॉरी हाँ मतलब बहुत सारी रेमेडीज में एक सेंसेशन ऑफ एनलार्जमेंट है. सो जनरली व्हाट हैपेंस इज लाइक अर्जेंटम मेट में भी होता है, जैसे head is growing larger, but what happens is in platina it is more a generalized sensation. They feel they're growing larger in every way, they're going taller in every way. Then one of the marked modalities of palladium is better by pressure. Okay, so much so, and they want such a hard pressure, they would want somebody to sit on the part. Okay, that is why this remedy should also be compared with colocynth. Okay, because both are, how do we go up, picture? Okay, okay. Because this remedy is also sensitive to, alright, real or imaginary insult. Okay, this is also found in Staphysagria. Okay, but remember, when you compare the two hierarchy wise, it is much more marked in Staphysagria and colocynth compared to platina, compared to palladium, sorry. And the most marked symptom of palladium is the desire to be flattered. They just love being flattered. They want to be appreciated in everything that they do. So the word language used in our Materia Medica is love for approbation. Love for approbation, which basically means love for praise. So, So even if they know that you're flattering them, which means, for instance, if they've done something, say to the level 2, and they know that the praise they are getting is at level 4, 5, only then they'll be satisfied. So if they've done at the level of 2 and you're only appreciating them at the level of 2, it'll not be enough. They want to be flattered a lot more. So that's the reason why when they're in a social gathering, as long as they are the center of attention, they are good. But the moment they are not the center of attention, or after they've come from that social gathering, is when they become worse. So, nahi, it's just it's that want of attention. So that's why you'll find in the Materia Medica and the proving many symptoms worse after a society meeting or in a gathering, especially when they are not given due attention. Now remember, so they are extremely sensitive, they've got high ego. But what you have to understand about Platina's ego is that you can never do enough. Okay, and in Palladium, they want a lot more than what you can do. Okay, so Platina doesn't really require your praise or appreciation because you cannot touch them, they are way beyond you. Okay, and Palladium wants that appreciation even if they know that you are maybe lying or giving them credit for what they did not even do or did not do much.
सर जैसे हिंदी में यूज करते हैं चापलूसी करना, दे वांट दिस।
नहीं, वो चाहेंगे आप चापलूसी करो
करो।
या उनकी बहुत ज्यादा तारीफ करो, उनको फ्लैटर करो बेसिकली. So they would want that. Okay. Palladium patient is inclined to weep. She suffers from mental excitement, particularly in company. She always has an aggravation or symptoms the day following an evening's entertainment. She is easily put out of humor and is then inclined to use a pretty strong language. So that language then may become not just loud, but will also become flowery. Okay? She imagines herself very much neglected. So remember, it is an imagination that the patient is not given enough attention. And attaches great importance to the good opinion of others, and that annoys her very much. The pride of Palladium patient is easily wounded. Then Palladium has a very, very characteristic headache. So that was first because it was introduced by Herring, and he found that extremely prominent, that the headache starts from one ear, goes over the vertex, and goes on to the other side of the ear. So it's like a headphone which is worn. The face is sallow with blue rings around the eyes. There is also nausea, worse in the evening, and very acid eructations. The bowels are constipated, stools often being whitish in color. The other thing is there is a bearing down sensation in palladium. There is knife-like cutting pains in the uterus which are relieved after stool. Constant tired feeling in the small of vac. She's so tired that she reels. She feels drowsy. Worse from any exertion, worse from standing, walking is less irksome to her than standing. Swelling in the region of right ovary with shooting pains from navel into the pelvis. There's also pain from navel towards the breast. Okay? And every time the baby feeds, there is a blood stain discharged or there is a vaginal discharge every time the child feeds. And these pains are also better by heart pressure and better by rubbing. So on your phones, open on the website homeoint.org and open John Henry Clark's Materia Medica. Another characteristic of palladium are fleeting pains. Okay? So it'll be very short duration pains, but they'll be sharp enough. Okay? They are called fleeting pains. Fleeting pains. Okay? So John Henry Clark. So when you open that, especially okay, so halfway through the characteristics, you'll find peculiar symptoms are. Can you see that? Yeah. As if he had grown taller, as if something horrible would happen, as if she were going crazy, as if she could not touch anything. So this is quite peculiar and singular to palladium, as if the head were swung from behind forward. Okay, So as if somebody just swung the head forward, as if the brain were being shaken, as if weight were lying on the brain and were pushed from occiput to forehead, pressure on the head as from fingertips. So these sensations can also become certain delusions. Okay? And you might be able to find an approximate remedy in Palladium if other symptoms agree. As if the intestines were strangled, as if air bubbles pressed forcibly through the intestines and passed upwards, as if an animal were snapping and biting off small portions inside the abdomen, as if the hand shattered, and as if heads of femurs were forced out of their sockets and expanded. Okay? So, better by touch, better by pressure, better by rubbing, better by warmth. So, worse after any exertion, worse after social excitement, concerts, etc. So, remember, during the gathering or socializing, if they are getting the attention, they are great. But they are so sensitive that after that, all the other symptoms agree because they will not get that kind of attention afterwards. Okay, so quickly also we can read through the symptoms of mind. Extremely fatigued in the evenings, feels mentally gone, greatly inclined to use strong language and violent expressions, fond of the good opinion of others. Also, too much weight is laid on their judgment, therefore, very excited in society, and the complaints are worse the following day. Better in company, wants to be flattered, easily wounded pride, imagines herself neglected, great inclination to weep, depressing news, worse all symptoms. Now remember, most importantly, imagines being neglected. So even if they are being given due attention, but if it is not up to his or her expectations, there'll easily be a feeling of being neglected. Okay? It's purely an imagination because the need is high. Mental agitation, especially from society or musical entertainment or excited conversation or motion, aggravates pain in the right ovary. Excited and impatient from headache, and time passes too slowly. In generalities, Clark specially highlights aversion to make any effort to exercise, must lie down, stitches, rheumatic pains suddenly changing and often lasting but a short time, soreness as if bruised. So, fleeting pains is one of the important feature of this remedy. Okay. Small remedy, very limited sphere, but cannot be missed when indicated. Okay. Ha. Like Apis, they say. On the left side, they say it is lachesis. Especially right ovary is Apis and Palladium, most importantly. So that's it for today, guys.
थैंक यू सर।